Hello, it's Neil Getz here, and it's a rather windy end of April. Sunny but overcast, as you can kind of tell, and I am at Ardlair. Lovely stone circle, and worth a little bit of an explore. Relatively easy to get through, and what we'll do is just keeping my eye on some fairly young sheep who are very curious. So I'm carrying my bag just in case they make off with it. So I'm going to stand in the middle of the circle, just overlooking the recumbent. Now this recumbent is slightly southeast facing rather than southwest facing, which is a bit unusual. So starting sort of looking south in the middle of the circle, it's definitely on a hill and it's got fairly commanding views all round. A bit like Tom Navari has got like kind of views all the way around on top of a kind of hill. And it's it's a pretty special sight because it's right on the crest of this hill round. If we come round here, I know that over in that field over there there's two standing stone picture stones that seem to be lined up with this one, this circle, which I've been to before but might go and explore a little bit more later on. But let's just concentrate on this circle. So the first documentation of Ardlair was 1797, and as usual it's called the Druid Stone, Druid Circle, and then I think it was visited in 1886, and the drawings from that, which I can recommend you go and having a look at, Great Crowns of Stone document. The sketches from that visit have a nice smooth recumbent stone, and probably more of it, which I'll come on to in a wee minute. And I think it has a couple of stones fallen, maybe a couple of stones still standing in the sketch. The original records and these kind of sketches from the 1880s all kind of talk about kind of maybe anything between 9 and 10 stones. In Great Crowns of Stone, there's kind of eight marked, although there's lots more lying around, which may have been broken up stones from the circle or just field spoil. It's quite normal to have scenes like this where you've got a monument with lots of boulders just piled up against it. The stone spoil from ploughing the fields over generations and years, decades and centuries. It just means it's somewhere convenient just to kind of push them towards. So let's have a look round the stones then. So as the convention states, as you start with the kind of west flanker at the recumbent setting. So this is stone 1. If I stand right up against it, it's probably just eye level with me, and red kind of granite I would have been guessing, or weathered, very weathered. There's a slab kind of quality about it. There's a kind of flat face, but there's kind of just a kind of boulder back, smoothish top. Not much you could maybe say around about kind of shaping or being chosen for a shape, apart from it's fairly a commanding kind of boulder for sure. The recumbent, if you were to look from one flanker to the other, you would kind of see that the recumbent seems to have been slumped, moved, rearranged, especially because it's sitting on a plinth, which is really quite unusual. That usually is a bit of an indicator to say it's been put back, resurrected, reconstructed. Because normally stones like this one and this one are embedded. About 25 to 30% of the actual stone height is embedded in the ground. So for it to be plinthed is usually a sign that it's been put back in place and it's stabilised by putting some stones underneath it. So that might go some way to explaining why the circle is a little bit kind of southeast facing which is a bit unusual. I mean, it's not unheard of. There's a few stone circles like that, but it's a bit unusual to have it like this. And it is clearly a little bit misaligned between the flankers. You'd expect it maybe kind of that end to be kind of a little bit forward, and I might as well talk about it. There should be a lot more of the stone. So, in Great Crowns of Stone, I mean, I go on about stones getting blasted and drill holes and a little bit of dynamite, and you can just pop them open, and that had been done for a long time. But the Great Crowns of Stone actually talk about this section here being blasted, which you can't really argue against. It's a whole chunk been taken out the stone, and if they've been trying to blast it, there's probably lots of it being blasted. And if it has been blasted, the chances are it's probably, you know, on its front or on its back while that was happening, perhaps, or because of it. So yeah, there's whole chunks missing probably because of it trying to be the polite terminology is reduced. The stone's reduced for other purposes, either for stone dikes or for farm buildings. But yeah, there's a whole chunk section at the top and bottom. There's also talk about fire damage, which is at this end, which is, I believe that maybe in Great Crowns of Stone it talks about maybe shepherds using it for like a kind of fire place. Although the prevailing wind's coming right up here, I wouldn't imagine it's got much protection. But yeah, the plinth pretty much gives it away for me. This stone's been put back and it's in a place where they thought it should be. Maybe rather than it certainly was where it was originally, because it would have been embedded, it would have been socketed in the ground, and there would have been lots more of it. And these stones maybe are either field spoil or they're parts of that stone. So stone number 3, the east flanker, it's a monster. It's a monster of a stone. So if I come and stand beside it, it's above me, so it's probably 1.8 high. It's nice grey granite. The flank, the recumbent, I think, because I think it's grey granite. It's difficult to kind of see where there's a lot of blackened damage and such. But so stone number 3 is a monster. It's a good. So let's define what the monster is. It's probably a good 2 arm lengths for me, wide. 1.8 tall. It's probably an arm length deep. Yeah, it's a commanding stone. So that in mind, with a fairly large number 1 flanker, a fairly large number 3 stone, there's a east flanker. I would have pictured the recumbent being a lot bigger than it currently is. I mean, if you can just even look at this side of it, you can see it's tapered off at this end, like it's been blasted and reduced at this end as well, I would think. While we're here, very much like Easter Quartes, and that's all I can kind of think of offhand. There's a couple of been support stones that have been identified in early sketches. This one here and that one there. There's a bit of a kind of mystery about what these maybe stones were, whether they were maybe kind of just placed because like Easter Quartes was probably the recumbent was probably split either naturally or by quarrymen, and it needed resupported when it was put back in place. This one certainly looks to me like it's been put back in place with a plinth, so I suspect these are maybe a modern addition as a kind of support. Maybe not. They were there in the early sketches from 1880, so anybody's guess really what they were for. So that's the 1, 2, 3. Stone number 4 has been identified as this wee fellow, which is kind of outside the circle diameter, so it would maybe have been socketed and it's fallen outside the circle. It's stone number 4. It does seem to have a little bit of a shape to it, right enough. But in early sketches and early documentation, it looks like that's always been in place. if we kind of follow the circle imaginary line round, although there's stones kind of lying outside the circle, this one here has been identified as stone number 5, has fallen kind of into the circle. And again, it's relatively socketed, but again, it looked like early sketches might have been standing. I think the only one that was really fallen was number 4 in early sketches. I think the rest were all upright, maybe. That's stone number 5, and again, these stones have been here for decades, these other stones. So again, could it be anything from stone spoiled to remnants of the curb stones of the cairn. They're a little bit too big to be cairn stones, but possibly curb stones to keep the cairn stones in place. So that's stone number 5, and then coming around to stone number 6. It's a bit of a block of a stone. You can imagine maybe this sort of bottom third being embedded, bottom quarter being embedded, being upright, being a bit more perhaps pointy, though it looks like there's maybe been some damage if this was the top end to the stone. That could possibly have been the remnants of a kind of drill hole and a blast point, so it might have been a bit more square. And then, according to the sketches, this is stone number 7, which is a big slab of a stone. It's a proper big slab of a stone, really well shaped or chosen for its shape. Good measurable kind of right angles on each side of that. And yeah, hard to kind of tell which end maybe was socketed or not, but if it could have been on this kind of side, it looks like it has taken a little bit of damage and has kind of fallen into the circle. And then stone 8 still standing. So I stand beside this one. It is just maybe 1.7 high, nice grey granite, nice angles on it for have been chosen or shaped, or chosen then shaped perhaps. I'm always kind of keen on the idea that these circles were so well built that after the community that used them had abandoned and went somewhere else or died off, that another community adopted them and reshaped them for what they wanted to use them for. Probably a chunk taken out there as well. So that's all 8 stones. The rest being probably spoil that's been just dumped up against here. But the general thought is the recumbent has taken a fair bit of abuse. The early sketches don't make any reference to chunks being. I mean, if you're going to sketch that, you'd make that a differentiation point for sure while you were sketching this up. But there were, according to the sketches in Great Ruins of Stone, this was a nice, smooth, large recumbent stone circle, with a recumbent that was nice and large and smooth, along with other stones. So it looks like this one's taken a fair battering, and right enough. If there's kind of any kind of hint in the Great Ruins of Stone documentation that it's been blasted, it probably has been. It looks like it's been through the wars, and the very fact that it's been plinithed says to me that it was either fallen forward or had been blasted and fallen forward or whatever, and it's been put back in its place to basically complete the circle as best it maybe could have done. So that's Ardlair, and I hope you've enjoyed the wee walk round. I haven't been accosted by any sheep, so that's good. I'll have to hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks very much.